The Timberwolves had the 13th best record in the league last season, the 7th best record in the West, and a top 10 net rating. Yes, you heard that right, a top 10 net rating. The Wolves are in a really good position. That top 10 net rating is a real achievement, and their showing in the playoffs was far from embarrassing. It looks like they've got the main building blocks of their future in place, but now it's time to add the peripheral pieces to that core. They have the opportunity to do that with this pick. So, who are they likely to select? Well, I've scoured the internet for mock drafts to gain information and selected 4 players I think have a chance to be selected by them, and I'm gonna give you some info on them. So, without any further dilly-dallying, let's get into it. Let's start with Ty Washington out of Kentucky. The future of the guard positions in Minnesota is pretty up in the air. Anthony Edwards is obviously the cornerstone of the franchise, but other than that, I don't know if any of the guys who got meaningful minutes last season will be on the roster in 3 years' time. Pat Bev is 33, and D'Angelo Russell is in the final year of his contract. The Russell situation is particularly interesting considering the fact that Edwards is going to need to be paid soon, and I don't know if the Wolves will be really interested in matching Russell's demands. I'd watch this situation on draft day, as I feel there could be some action with him sooner rather than later. For all of those reasons, I think the Wolves should focus on finding Anthony Edwards' backcourt mate of the future. Edwards will probably be the main offensive option moving forward, but they'll definitely need to supplement the playmaking, especially if Russell does get moved on. That's why I like the fit of Ty Washington. Ty is capable of playing off the ball and being more of a jump shooting threat, but he can also handle the ball and create for himself and create for others. And showed good defensive development and proved in the playoffs that the defensive worries aren't as big as they once were. Still, that wouldn't be the most defensively solid backcourt. Role-wise, I could see him sitting behind Beverly, Russell, and Beasley for the moment, but as some of those guys move on, I could see him growing into that starting role. Let's now talk about Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame. The combination of Wesley and Edwards would, at the very least, be exciting to watch. Both of these guys excel at bursting and accelerating to the basket. The scoring Wesley could provide alongside Edwards, especially with Cat stretching the floor, could be the basis of a really solid offense. His strides to the basket are really strong and sudden, and I think it will translate to the NBA. There is playmaking potential there, but I am definitely lower on it than I am for Washington. The jumper is a concern and will be vital to him becoming a starting caliber guard in my opinion. He will need some more time to develop, so playing behind those other guards for the moment shouldn't be a huge issue. Next up, let's talk about Jaden Hardy. Hardy has a reasonably high offensive ceiling. He had a reputation as a sharpshooter coming out of high school, and that was called into question after a season with the G League Ignite team. He only shot 27% from 3, which isn't great, but as I always say, the G League is where prospects' efficiency goes to die. The shot will have to develop to warrant him being selected here. He certainly does have more to offer though. He developed a lot as a ball handler in his time in the G League, and his 15.5% assist rate showed that. I am buying his potential as a pick and roll conductor too. He's also a very versatile scorer off jumpers, hitting them out of the pick and roll, isolation, whipping out step backs from 3, and mid-range leaners. His handle also might be the best in the class in terms of his technique and the depth of his bag of tricks. His scoring in the paint is more of a concern though. That blend of on and off ball creation and scoring would fit nicely with Edwards though. Defensively, he struggled both on and off the ball, and his lack of athleticism could be a concern. This alone would be the biggest concern with him for me. Because of the amount you're gambling on him reaching the offensive potential, you're gonna want some signs of life on the defensive end, especially when projecting him into playoff scenarios. Finally, let's talk about EJ Liddell. I could also see the Wolves target a forward who can offer some more of an offensive punch. I love Jaden McDaniels and Jared Vanderbilt, but neither of them are a real positive on the offensive end. Liddell should offer some floor stretching, as he's now had 2 seasons of at least decent 3-point shooting, and that, besides catch, should ensure the heart of the court is wide open for Edwards to create havoc in. He does also offer some shot creation potential and post-game too, which would at the very least diversify the offense. His playmaking also tends to get underrated a bit. Liddell should offer great rim protection from the forward positions too. The big downside with Liddell is his age and his upside, but the other side of that coin is that he should be able to contribute immediately. Considering how well the Wolves played in the playoffs this past season, this move could be very welcome as they look to push on deeper in the playoffs next season.